To show you a little bit more of what I've been working on with Component.Studio 2. Again, this is just a playground, not a real app. We're a long ways away from a real app. That said, I've integrated some feedback that people have had. For example, we talked about in the Facebook group and on the Discord, we talked about we should show formulas. So I'm showing the formulas in these fields rather than the rendered values, but you can hover over and get the calculated value for anything. So so we're still, doing the same thing. It's just I've reverted or I've inversed it. You can still click into a field and edit it, that sort of thing. Now, though, we can also handle errors. So I thought this might be an interesting thing. If I'm just putting letters in here, this is expecting a number because it's a width field. So it tells me here that it didn't result in a number. It highlights the field out here and highlights the particular layer that we're dealing with as well. So the layer name. So even if this is minimized, you can see that it's red. There's an error in there. And that should go a long way toward helping people detect errors that they've made. Hopefully, we'll see as we go. But anyway, that's that. So let's put a real number back in here. Okay. Next thing, everybody wants to know about drag and drop. So let's show a little bit of what I'm thinking about for drag and drop. This needs to work in mobile environments where you've got a screen and your finger, not just with a mouse. So it'll work a little differently than it works in maybe if you're used to some other program. First things first, because we have formulas in here, we don't want to always have things draggable. So right now, if I try to do anything here, they're not draggable because we don't want to overwrite these formulas accidentally. So you have to actually enable drag and drop. And so I've enabled it on this red rectangle over here. So I'm dragging, okay. And then I can disable it, and now I can no longer drag that around. You'll note that while I was dragging, it replaced these values, so those formulas are gone now. They've been overwritten by drag and drop. So if I move these, again, when I drop, you can see the values are changing every time I drop. Okay. So another thing you can do is drag to resize. So you can pick up on a thing and kind of, however big you want to make it, you can drag and drop and resize it. You can also drag to rotate an item. So I can spin it around and around like so, and then turn that off. So each one of these is overwriting any formula that happens to be in there. Formula number, whatever, it's overwriting it. So you got to be careful with it, but it lets you deal with that situation as it comes up. If you're a person that would find it easier to place an item by drag and drop than by using the numbers, this can get you there. And likewise, you can still go back in and edit these numbers after the fact. So let's say we got this to 207, but we really wanted that to be 205. At least we're getting close with just the drag and drop. So we have that going on. A new thing that I'm playing around with here is a z-index. So think of it as a forward and backward. By default, in Component.Studio 1, everything that the second thing always comes on top of the first thing. So in this case, rectangle 2, that's this green rectangle here, is on top of the red one because it came second in the list. But sometimes you want to be able to use the properties of one thing to set something that you want to actually appear behind it. So for example, if this was a text box, I might want to write out the text, see how big it is first, and then be able to use the properties of that text box to define an image, the size of an image that goes behind that text box. So with z-index, you can do that. So right now, if we're looking at this red triangle, you can see, or red rectangle, you can see it's behind the green. And by default, everything will have a z-index of 100. So if we just want it to go above, we can just set this to 101 or 1000 or whatever. And so now you can see that it's above. And if I set it back to 90, then it's below. And if I set it to 1000, then it's back above, that sort of thing. So this allows you to control the position of an item in the layering, even though the layer happened, before the previous, or the layer that's rendering on top. Now the previous layer could still render on top of a subsequent layer. So I think that's pretty powerful. Most people probably won't use it, but there's a case. And so I'm also playing around with how controls should work. So for example, this color picker isn't really working correctly yet. But here's an example with opacity. So we can set the opacity of this entire object here. And I can do that formulaically. So I could put in here, like, this is a garbage property, but I'm putting it in here just so we have an example. All right, so there we go. So it's set, that variable is set to 42, and so now we've got 42% opacity. But sometimes you don't want to programmatically set a field. You want to use nice GUI tools, graphical user interface things, like if you were in Photoshop. So I'm also thinking that for every programmatic field, or every field will be programmatic, it'll have this where you can just type in a formula or a number or whatever. But you can also, I'm going to try to put controls like this onto the fields so that you can still control them like it was a graphical user interface. And this works much the same way as this drag to move, drag to resize, that sort of thing, in that whatever's in this field will be lost because we're overwriting it. But you've at least got those nice controls to do that sort of thing. So that's it for today. I just wanted to show you what was going on. Please leave your feedback. What do you like? What don't you like? And help me in these early days to get everything right so that I don't have to go back and do a bunch of rework, which will only delay the whole progress. Oh, actually, one other thing. I'm thinking about breaking like fields into sections. So for example, I've got size and position here. That's all of these things. There will be a bunch of attributes for fill here, and probably other sections as well. Do you like it broken out like section, organized by section like that? Component.Studio 1 has sort of that going on, but nothing is labeled such. So here I'm literally labeling what's going into the section. Do you like that? Anyway, that's it. Have a good day. Leave me your feedback in the comments below. Appreciate it.